Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, dear students and friends. Good morning and a heartfelt welcome to the opening ceremony of the first World Maritime Education and Training Multidisciplinary Congress, titled Underway at the Seas of the Future, Steering the Course to Maritime Education and Training for Sustainable Development. It is with immense pride and profound honor that we gather here at Constanța Maritime University in partnership with the Nautical Institute to co-host this landmark event. We unite experts, educators, practitioners and visionaries from every corner of the globe embarking on a remarkable voyage into the promising future of the maritime education and training, a journey that holds the power to shape the oceans and seafaring worlds yet to come. The maritime industry stands at a critical juncture, facing unprecedented challenges that ripple across the vast sea environmental sustainability, technological upheaval, evolving regulatory frameworks, and the shifting tides of global trade. In this complex and dynamic landscape, it has become essential to equip our maritime professionals with the vital skills, knowledge, and ethical values necessary to navigate these rough seas successfully. This Congress serves as a unique multidisciplinary platform, a bustling marketplace of ideas, where we can exchange insights, share best practices, foster collaboration, and ignite innovation in maritime education and training. The discussions we engage in here will help chart a course for sustainable development within the maritime realm, ensuring that our oceans remain vibrant and flourishing, a source of life and inspiration for generations yet to come. Over the next few days, we will delve into a rich tapestry of themes, exploring cutting-edge simulator, technologies, green shipping practices, the intricacies of leadership and human factors, and the crucial integration of maritime education with global sustainability goals. This gathering is a testament to our collective commitment, not merely to keep pace with the rapidly evolving maritime sector, but to lead it consciously and responsibly into a sustainable future. I extend my deepest gratitude to the Nautical Institute for their invaluable partnership, and to all the speakers, participants, and the local organizers' teams whose unwavering dedication has made this Congress possible. As we embark on this exciting journey together, let us embrace the spirit of cooperation, creativity, and exploration that defines our vibrant global maritime community. Thank you for your presence today. I wish you all a productive and inspiring Congress filled with new discoveries and enduring connections. Fair winds and following seas. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, dear students. It is with great apologies that I must inform you that our rector, Professor Gabriel Margarit Raicu, is unable to join us here today. As many as you know, the rector plays a crucial role at our institution and has been a driving force behind organizing our first World Maritime Education and Training Multidisciplinary Congress. Unfortunately, due to a prior commitment made over 1 year ago, the rector is currently abroad to participate in the official signing of a significant international project. This project represents a major milestone for our institution and for our international partners. The date for this signing was firmly established 1 year ago, and the rector presence is essential to formalize this important agreement, which will pave the way for future collaboration, research opportunities, and global engagement for all of us. On behalf of the rector, I extend sincere apologies for his inability to be with us in person and express gratitude for your understanding. But recognizing the importance of this occasion, the rector has prepared a special video message to address all of us during the opening ceremony. Please join me in viewing his video message.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, dear students and friends, good morning and a very warm welcome to Constanța and to the World Maritime Education, Training and Marine Conference hosted by Constanța Maritime University. On behalf of our academic community, faculty, researchers, cadets, and staff, it is both an honor and a profound responsibility to open this gathering dedicated to the future of maritime education and training. Allow me to begin with a simple truth. Seafaring is an international profession by design. Our ships cross borders, our crews form truly global teams, and our challenges, safety, decarbonization, digitalization, and security, ignore national boundaries. The only sustainable answers are international ones. That is why we have convened here, to work together on shared solutions, to align standards and practice, and to ensure that maritime education keeps pace with the scale and speed of change at sea and in our ports. This week's program reflects that global ambition. We are privileged to learn from leaders across the ecosystem, from the International Maritime Organization, the Nautical Institute, World Maritime University, the European Maritime Safety Agency, universities, academies, and industry partners, each bringing a vital perspective to the conversation. Your presence signals something essential. Maritime education and training is not a supporting actor. It is the engine of maritime transformation. But let's see CMU's commitment to seafarers and to a safer, smarter maritime world. As the host institution, CMU stands on three enduring pillars: excellence in seafarer education. For nearly 3 decades, CMU has prepared officers and engineers to navigate complex vessels, dynamic seas, and multicultural crews. Our commitment is practical and human-centered. Strong fundamentals, rigorous simulation, and a learning culture that cultivates judgment, leadership, and resilience. We build competence, but also character, because the maritime human element remains our most advanced technology, bridging education and industry. We collaborate closely with shipowners, ports, maritime administrations, and technology firms to align curricula with operational reality. Students rotate from classroom to simulator to ship, developing the reflexes needed for safe operations and the critical thinking demanded by emergent scenarios, whether that's alternative fuels, predictive maintenance, or complex logistics under uncertainty. This bridge between education and industry runs both ways. Industry shapes our classrooms, and our classrooms strengthen industry. Let me address now the scientific program and innovation with purpose. CMU is not only training today's officers, we are designing tomorrow's maritime systems. We do this by combining applied research, live exercises, and international projects that translate discovery into practice. Let me highlight several strategic directions at CMU that speak directly to the themes of this conference. As Maritime's Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, well known under the acronym of MARCISCO, cyber risks have become safety risks. Our center integrates training, incident response exercising, doctrine development, and technology validation across shipboard OT/IT and port ecosystems. We run tabletop exercises and cyber range scenarios with partners from government, industry, and academia to rehearse, not imagine, how to detect, contain, and recover from cyber incidents on board and alongside. We center the human element by teaching crews how to recognize abnormal system behavior, escalate safely, and maintain navigational and engineering integrity under duress. But we are in the forefront of the maritime AI, as is nature of our institution, to be deeply involved in emerging technologies research. AI is now part of the Mariner's Toolkit, supporting voyage optimization, anomaly detection, condition-based maintenance, cargo planning, and training analytics. At CMU, we approach AI with dual discipline, enthusiasm for capability and discipline for governance. We teach cadets and officers to interrogate model outputs, understand bias and uncertainty, and apply AI as decision support, never a blind override. In our labs, we are exploring LLM-assisted training and AI-enabled port operations to reduce waiting time, emissions, and costs while improving safety. About scientific program and quantum communications. Secure, low-latency, and tamper-evident communications will be a backbone of next-generation maritime operations, especially as we connect ships, drones, and ports in dense, automated networks. CMU is preparing for a quantum-ready maritime domain by introducing foundational concepts in QKD, post-quantum cryptography, and key management architectures into our advanced curricula and research partnerships. Our aim is to ensure that when quantum capabilities scale, the maritime sector won't merely adapt, it will lead. Addressing autonomous navigation and smart ports and general autonomy at sea is not a single leap. It's a staircase of supervised capabilities. We test human-on-the-loop and human-in-the-loop models, robust sensor fusion, fail operational behaviors, and ethical decision frameworks. In parallel, CMU engages with port authorities on smart port use cases, digital twins, berth and yard optimization, IoT-secured infrastructure, and shore power integration, because the ship port system must be trained and optimized as one. Several papers at this conference speak to these transitions, from simulation-based training for pollution response to AI-supported education and essential skills for seafarers in a technology-rich environment. End quote. International cooperation in MET must do more than compare notes. It must accelerate convergence on 5 fronts. First is based on standards and assurance. We must align training outcomes with the competencies demanded by alternative fuels, automation, and cyber-physical operations, and then verify those outcomes with shared assessment tools and cross-recognized credentials. This reduces duplication, improves mobility, and enhances safety. Second is based on interoperable training infrastructures. Cyber ranges, simulators, and digital twins should be interconnectable so that a port exercise in Constanța can plug into a ship scenario in Lisbon or a VTS simulation in Malmö. Shared data models and scenario libraries will let us train together, not just in parallel. Third is based on faculty upskilling and mobility. Educators need continuous professional development in AI, cybersecurity, alternative fuels, human factors, and systems engineering. Faculty exchanges, short, intensive, project-based, can spread best practices quickly across institutions and regions. Student mobility with purpose. Let us move beyond generic exchanges to mission-focused placements. Green corridors for cadets, joint capstones with industry sponsors, and multinational crews on training voyages that reflect the real composition of bridge and engine rooms. Fourth is based on research-to-classroom pipelines. We must compress the lag between research and curriculum. When an innovation improves safety or efficiency, it should reach simulators and syllabi within the same academic cycle, accompanied by case studies, exercises, and assessment rubrics. Last is the program ahead, a living lab of collaboration. Over the coming days, our agenda journeys from vision to practice, opening keynotes that set direction, technical sessions that probe methods and evidence, a student session that rightly centers the next generation, and a workshop on maritime education and training for sustainable development that gathers regulators, academia, and industry around concrete action points. Together, we will explore regulatory frameworks, green shipping, technology integration, communication at sea, and the essential skills that keep the human element strong. The guided tour of CMU will open our labs and simulators so you can see how we translate these commitments into learning experiences. Let's talk about scientific program in the tone of a shared ethic, about safety, sustainability, security. 3 words must anchor every innovation we discuss. Safety. because the first duty of the mariner is to bring ship, cargo, and crew home. Sustainability, because the oceans we traverse are not only thoroughfares, they are lifelines. Decarbonization and environmental stewardship are educational imperatives, not electives. Security, because the integrity of our systems and data underpins navigational safety, commercial trust, and the resilience of our supply chains. At CMU, we treat these as integrated. A cyber-secure ship is a safer ship. Efficient ports reduce emissions. Skilled crews transform technology into capability. And capable institutions make international standards operational. I invite you to use this conference as a working forum. Challenge assumptions, test ideas against evidence, and frame disagreements productively. Bring your maritime realities, bridge team dynamics, engine room constraints, port bottlenecks, and let's map them to solutions we can teach, certify, and scale. If a prototype is promising, let's design the assessment that proves its value. If a policy is sound, let's craft the training that makes it lived practice on board. To our students and young professionals, this is your stage. Ask bold questions. Offer your perspective on usability, workload, and teamwork. The future bridge will be yours to command. The future engine room, yours to maintain. The future port, yours to orchestrate. Help us build the education you deserve. I want to thank our partners, speakers, session chairs, and volunteers for shaping an agenda that is both ambitious and actionable. I am grateful to colleagues who have prepared the sessions on technology integration, communication, and essential skills, and to those leading the Sustainability Workshop and Students Forum. Your work embodies the spirit of this conference: cooperation with rigor, innovation with responsibility. In Romanian, we say, "Together we go farther." Over the next days, let us prove that simple phrase right by aligning our standards, connecting our training infrastructures, empowering our educators, and equipping our seafarers to thrive in a maritime world that is cleaner, smarter, and more secure. On behalf of Constanța Maritime University, I declare this conference open. Welcome to CMU, welcome to Constanța, and welcome to a week of purposeful collaboration. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, dear students, it is my distinct honor to introduce a truly influential figure in the global maritime community, Mr. Arsenio Dominguez Velasco, the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, or IMO. As the head of the IMO, Mr. Arsenio Dominguez plays a critical role in shaping international regulations, policies, and initiatives that promote safe, secure, and environmentally sustainable shipping worldwide. His leadership has been instrumental in advancing the maritime agenda on crucial issues, including maritime education and training, which lie at the heart of this Congress. We were very much looking forward to welcoming Mr. Arsenio Dominguez here in person to address the first World Maritime Education and Training Multidisciplinary Congress. However, due to commitments during this period, he is unable to join us in person. Nevertheless, he has kindly prepared a video message to share his thoughts and support for this vital work we undertake together in advancing maritime education and training globally. Please join me in viewing the keynote video message from Mr. Arsenio Dominguez, Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization.
Shipping is changing before our eyes. The pace of transformation in the maritime sector has never been faster, driven by rapid transformation. In this context, the theme of this Congress could not be more timely. At the heart of this transformation lies maritime education and training. They are the foundations of progress, and they must evolve so that the workforce is ready to meet both current and future needs. The International Maritime Organization is committed to supporting this transformation by laying the foundations for harmonized global training standards for seafarers working on ships powered by alternative fuels and new technologies. This includes the development of interim training guidelines, the expansion of capacity building programs, and close engagement with industry and academia. In September, IMO issued interim guidelines on training for seafarers on ships using alternative fuels and new technologies. IMO member states and NGOs are now advancing their work on developing fuels and technology-specific training guidelines, including those for methyl, ethyl alcohol, ammonia, hydrogen, LPG, battery-powered ships, and fuel cells. These efforts are progressing in parallel to IMO's comprehensive review of the 1978 STCW Convention and Code. The interim guidelines are expected to form the basis for the development of mandatory requirements under the revised instruments. IMO is also contributing to the work in the Maritime Just Transition Task Force, a global task force established by the International Chamber of Shipping, the International Transport and Workers Federation, the United Nations Global Compact, and the International Labour Organization, and IMO, dedicated to enabling a just energy transition for the maritime sector. A project on baseline training framework for seafarers in decarbonization, in close engagement with IMO's World Maritime University, has supported the development of learning materials and instructors' handbook to support training of seafarers on ships using alternative fuels. Building on this, the Maritime Just Transition Task Force has recently launched new frameworks providing specialized guidance for seafarers, maritime administrations, maritime education and training institutions, and shipping companies on developing and delivering training programs for seafarers working on ammonia, methanol, and hydrogen-powered ships. IMO's Green Voyage 2050 program, together with the GIZ's International's Power to X Hub, has launched the Training of Trainers program to equip trainers in developing countries with the knowledge and tools needed to deliver locally relevant courses on alternative fuels, including safety considerations. These and other examples reflect a growing engagement between IMO, industry, and academia, working together to place seafarers at the center of shipping's decarbonization and ensuring training requirements remain at the forefront of the energy transition. I wish to take this opportunity to express my deep appreciation to Constanța Maritime University and the Nautical Institute for organizing this important event, and to Romania for graciously hosting. I encourage you to continue strengthening maritime education and training worldwide so that the global workforce has the skills and knowledge to safely and effectively operate the ships of the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear students, it is my great honor to introduce our next keynote speaker. For the first World Maritime Education and Training Multidisciplinary Congress, Captain John Lloyd, as Chief Executive Officer of the Nautical Institute. Captain John Lloyd leads the Nautical Institute, a globally respected professional body dedicated to advancing the art and science of navigation and maritime operations. Under his leadership, the Institute continues to promote excellence in maritime education, safety, and professionalism worldwide. We are particularly proud to highlight that the Nautical Institute is not only a leading voice in the maritime sector, but also a valued co-organizer of this Congress, working closely alongside Constanța Maritime University to bring this unique multidisciplinary event to life. Captain John Lloyd's insights today will offer us a valuable perspective on the latest development in maritime education and training, as well as how professional organizations and academic institutions can collaborate to meet the challenges facing our industry. Please join me warmly welcoming Captain John Lloyd.
For the recording, I have to use the microphone. So good morning and a warm welcome to you, and thank you, Dr. Carmen, and all of your colleagues here at the university for a prestigious amount of work that has gone into preparing for today, and all of our colleagues from across the industry. So thank you very much indeed. I'm going to share with you just some sort of personal perspectives, a little bit of a description of the privileges I've had from working in the maritime community in different parts of the world, and to see how that dovetails perhaps a little bit into the opportunities and problems and challenges that we face going forward. So some contemporary issues of shipping, and there's probably, there we go, leadership in the IMO. Wasn't it great to hear from the Secretary General giving a shout out to what we're doing, and in particular the work that we do going forward. And I'm not going to talk about the Nautical Institute. We are the world's leading professional association for maritime professionals, but you probably know that. And there's a little QR code at the end if you'd like to find out more. What I'd like to talk about is this complex environment in which we're working in. And one of the opportunities I had this year was to go to the IMO for World Maritime Day, where we shone the spotlight on the key messages from the IMO of our ocean, our obligations. This one came from the Irish pub, I think. It's okay. Our obligations and our opportunity. And to focus on those in particular as we go forward. And the first one, you know, our ocean, it is the workplace for our seafarers. We have a range of obligations in that respect, where the Secretary General was talking about preparing our mariners for the future and what that means. And one of the key areas that we have to focus on, of course, was the meeting was only last week of the Marine Environment Protection Committee, and wow, what turned out, what we thought was going to be a discussion and a roadmap for the way ahead became a little bit of a political battlefield, if I could call it that. And I don't think in the history of the IMO have we ever seen a meeting adjourned for a year before we continue down that road of trying to find the right answers for the industry. And I think that's not a criticism of the participants. It's a reflection on the complexity and the challenges that we face, and maybe a growing realization that we cannot deliver the solutions of tomorrow with the cost base of today. It is a different level of investment. It's a different level of commitment that will be required if we're going to turn the page in an effective way. So it is that net zero challenge. The cost will be substantial. The availability of the next generation of fuels is at present unpredictable. And we saw the political resistance from oil-producing nations, from people worried about the impact on their own domestic agenda. So perhaps we were working to an unrealistic timescale, but there are really important imperatives in that space. So we do need to think about that. We need to encourage our representatives to work collaboratively to find the best possible answers that they can. And that leads a little bit into our obligation for the safety of all our seafarers. And how can we do that? Well, the Secretary General also mentioned en passant the review of the STCW 1978 Convention. Let's be clear about where we are without dancing too sensitively around the key issues. The STCW Code of 1978 was reviewed substantially in 1995. We then pretended to review it in 2010 and did not make substantial arrangements. So actually, we are working to a code that is 30 years old. It is 30 years old today, and we haven't started revising it yet. So we've got a lot of work to do. And you know, sometimes people refer to the IMO and say, oh, it's just the bottom standard, it's not really good enough. Well, let's consider what the Articles of Association of the IMO say. And I'm going to highlight the important bits in red. They are there to encourage the general adoption of the highest practicable standards in matters concerning maritime safety and efficiency of navigation. So if we're not signing up to that, it's because our representatives are not facilitating the highest possible standards in the discussions they're having. We cannot just point the finger at the IMO and say, oh, you didn't do it well enough. The IMO is an amalgamation of maritime contributors from all over the world, and we should encourage them to stand up to that particular obligation that they have in the Articles of Association. Which brings us back to the idea of leadership, and particularly leadership in change. So we've got the IMO at the sort of global macro level, but at a more local level, we've got the different sorts of leadership that you might see on board a ship or in the office. Different styles, different characteristics, different representations of that responsibility. But what is the environment that they're working in? And for us at the Nautical Institute, it's about thinking about developing professionals. Of course, everybody will start with their core qualifications of STCW, or it might be business if they're in other areas of the maritime sector, but focusing on that. Further training and certification. We have some formalized ones such as dynamic positioning, but there are many, many routes to continuing professional development. It's about lifelong learning and about lifelong career professional development. But there's a complexity there, isn't there? Because what we're talking about is a period of dynamic change, a pace of change, which people say we've never seen before, the speed of that change. So what does that mean for the people we need? Well, if we look at the right-hand side there, there's only a small amount of information in there because those technical skills, those professional knowledge bits are going to change so quickly. So actually the skills we need in our people are more towards the middle and the left-hand side, where we're talking about people who can communicate and collaborate effectively, can solve problems collectively and individually. But increasingly important are those personal skills, the personal values of initiative and drive, people committed to lifelong learning, adaptable to different situations and the different environments, to understand the importance of the international perspective they will bring to each other, and that entrepreneurial and critical thinking that is essential for the workforce of, I would say, not tomorrow, but of today. This is where I'd like to just dive off a little bit to talk about my own experience in different parts of the world. One of the great locations I had was Vanuatu in the Pacific Ocean. It's not far from Fiji and the other great Pacific islands. The picture on the left there is called Champagne Beach, and that's because the bubbles that burst over the beach are about the size of champagne bubbles. It's the ideal location for a Christmas morning barbecue and so on. But the people there, they think differently. They work differently. They're in an environment which can be impacted by cyclones. They have volcanoes. They have earthquakes. They have an almost transient expectation as to the security of the environment in which they're living and working. And they have what we might call a very old-fashioned way of thinking about leadership. So I don't know what you do in Romania, forgive me. But in the UK, if you're hosting a barbecue as the host, your job is to make sure your staff have had something to eat. And when they've eaten, hopefully there's something left for the more senior people. In Vanuatu, as the head of the centre, if I had not eaten, nobody would eat. They would starve rather than eat before me. So it's a cultural difference which gives context to how we address and interact with our people. And if we don't understand that, we cannot interact effectively. And communications, they speak in a different language. They use Bishlama, it's a pidgin English. Before every meeting, they will stop, and for them it is important to pray. It's a Christian society, and they will pray for guidance before every meeting. And we have to understand that. We cannot reject that. We share their values, we understand their values, and we work within that environment. But after a couple of years there, I moved to Launceston in Tasmania, and the Australian people are a bit different, eh? I don't think I know any other country on the world where the sense of entitlement is as strong as it is. That the world is there to look after them. They have and they demand a high quality of living. They have and they demand, or they have no employment, or they have highly paid employment. They do work hard. Their qualifications are really important. But they are quite informal in the way that they communicate with people. I'm not saying unprofessional, they're very professional, but they build a team in a different way. They're passionate about their sport, they're passionate about their country, but it is a different way of of thinking to where we've been before. And then my next excursion was to Angola, and Captain Zhao is going to pick up what was left at an amazing training center in the south of the country near Sumbe. The leadership matters there as well, and as an expatriate it can be really challenging to understand how people are thinking, the respect they have for you as a maritime professional, but their embedded loyalty to tribal loyalties and the people that they recognize from their own background. So it also creates an environment in which they're averse to risk. So they need somebody else to make decisions for them in many instances. So just understanding those different environments makes it a challenge to dismantle the obstructions and to find a positive way forward. But those are small challenges. Those are small challenges compared with the real challenge that we have now. What we have now is the greatest challenge of our period, and that's the generational change, the different expectations that we have from the people entering our industry. They want different things. They view things differently. They want meaningful work. They have a global perspective that perhaps we've never had before, brought about by technology and the availability of information. They want to make a difference to where, to the planet they live on and how they work. And they have opportunities and choices, the like of which we've never seen before. So how do we deal with that? They will make those choices. They will make choices about different career paths at different times of their lives. They want meaningful work. They understand climate change. They understand that there is importance to make those decisions, and they want to be part of that discussion, and they want to be part of those discussions. And they want advancement and progression. They are impatient to progress. So they wish to see how they can get more opportunity, and they want it now, not tomorrow. So what does that mean in terms of what they're looking for in a leadership? It's very different to perhaps some of those environments that we were talking about. And we did a bit of a straw poll in a meeting we had. And these are the values that they're looking for in their leadership people. Respectful, communicate, empathy, understanding how they're thinking, considerate, delicate. They want intelligence, of course, but they're looking for people that will be trustworthy, and that trust word will continue to appear in the rest of the conversation. Highly effective leaders, and this is from some of the research, the emotional intelligence identified as twice as important as technical skills and IQ. Understanding how your people are thinking and feeling is central to being able to have the best possible performance from them. Attributing emotional intelligence rather than cognitive ability is how we will achieve the best star performers in the world. Understanding of strengths and weaknesses so we can support people, not criticize them, but help them be better. And as leaders, understanding that, as we've heard before, but so often fail to implement, that the industry's greatest asset are indeed our people. And these are just some quotes from leading organizations that, of course, happier people in what we call a psychologically safe space now. We found fancy names for it, but it's happier people will have a greater contribution than unhappier people. High performance and treating people well. It's kind of common sense, but so often we see the reverse applying. And there is no team without trust. So there we see, again, trust is vital for performance. And this is from a case study in the North America content, and it's about trying to demonstrate that being nice isn't just about being nice, it's about being effective. But it was an organization that had a really bad safety record. It was going to go, quite simply, out of business because people would not insure their work. But what they managed to do over a 10-year period, it was not quick. They reduced their accident rate by 90% and a significant reduction in injuries. Insurance, this is where the value came in from the boardroom perspective and the financial accountants as well. They saved $2.2 million annually. Earnings increased because they had more activity. They 50% reduction in their insurance premiums, yielding another $2 million of savers. $7.5 million in direct safety, health and safety costs. This is about investing in the right answer, not only for the people, but for the business benefit as well. And a $30 million reduction in operational costs. And overall, what they spent on improving the world was returned 3 times over in their own business operations. So it's a substantial benefit from doing the right thing and making sure we do it for the right reasons. And that leads me to some work that we've been doing with the Maritime Professional Council of the UK, which is an organisation sort of set up as an industry benchmark to guide regulators and give feedback on consultations and so on. And we were looking at the theme of kind leadership, and 88% of those agreed there was a role for it. It enhances safety culture, team innovation, communications and so on by creating that correct workplace environment. And its ethos can develop better, more effective goals for an organisation. But it's about the results. It's about transforming that safety culture. And I often take the view that you can't regulate safety. Safety is not brought about by regulations, it's brought about by people. So that's a really important step forward. Improving the health, safety and well-being of the people at sea and on shore. And I think it's really important we remember those really essential links between communications between the sea and the shore, and provide benefits that flow right across the organisation to the bottom line, as we've seen from the previous example. But how do we do that? I'm not going to read all of these out, but it is about taking those links, which we were hearing about before from the rector, about taking what industry needs and building it into the curriculum, finding ways in which we can implement the correct academic solutions as well as the practical workplace ones by having a formalized structure and making sure that it is part of the curriculum and that people are engaged with it. Focusing on practical exercises, and I love the reference to those real-time case studies where people are not just role-playing but they're real scenarios as well, which I think is really important. So in essence then, kindness empowers the people to lead with positivity and encouragement, and leaders that show kindness accelerate the trust needed for an effective workplace. That's a reminder of the key things that are important to our people. And compassionate communication, emotional intelligence, values-based decision making, authentic self-awareness. People can see through the facade that others put up. Building a culture of kindness and implementing strategies to create a healthier workplace. And kind of feedback that is constructive to help our professionals develop as well as they can. And then sometimes people say, oh, going to sea is not like it was. Have you seen the youngsters of today? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And here's just an example. Are we ready for the challenge? This is the Younger Members Council from the Nautical Institute. They're all under 35 years of age. They are digital natives. They understand how to use information and access it effectively. They're continuing to develop their skills. They're more inquisitive than any of their previous generations. They're probably more academically gifted than their previous generations. They've got access to more information, and they are highly motivated. And to say otherwise would be doing them a great disservice. So are they ready for anything? Yes, they are, but only with the right leadership. So thank you very much for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear students, it is my distinct honor to introduce our next keynote speaker for the first World Maritime Education and Training Multidisciplinary Congress, Professor Dong-Wook, Chair in Maritime Economics and Logistics at the World Maritime University. Professor Song is a renowned expert and distinguished academic whose groundbreaking research has greatly advanced the fields of maritime economics and logistics. His work plays a vital role in deepening our understanding of the complex dynamics that shape global maritime transport and supply chains. Today, Professor Song will be presenting on a crucial theme for this Congress, MET Educators as Researchers. His presentation promises to offer invaluable insights into how maritime education and training professionals can actively engage in research to enhance teaching quality, foster innovation, and contribute to the development of the maritime sector. Please join me in warmly welcoming Professor Dong-Wook.
Thank you for the kind introduction. And then normally people like me as academic is normally very shy, but sometimes according to our profession I have to stand in front of you and to speak. But good to see all of you. I can see some of you seen before, others is a very first time. But as I feel arriving the Constanța 9 o'clock yesterday, last night. So I feel that which time now I'm in here and there, I'm confused. My brain is still stuck in. But anyhow, to say previous 2 online based speaker and then Captain John Lewis's presentation just remind me, say interesting story, interesting maritime world. So my personally, before you move on to the academic component, say born in Korea, educated Korea up to my first degree, and then went to England for master and MSc. So born Korean, educated UK, working in my first academic profession, starting exactly 30 years ago in Hong Kong. And then Hong Kong, 10 years working, and then Edinburgh in Scotland is 10 years. Now in Sweden, Malmo, 10 years. So different part of the world. And maritime mean, so my first degree is shipping management. The shipping management and education and training is slightly detached from me, but in overall, say Constanța is, according to your CMU rector's point, is a good speaker, a good leader. And the journalist said about what is a good leader? So human component and organization component is all the time dynamically changed. Fortunately, topic I'm going to talk to today is not that much changed. Fundamentally still remain same. So there is a point actually I'd like to share with you. Say MET educator, you all of you one way or another, even Captain John Lewis, you are the educator as well. So me as well. What does this mean in higher education setting? This is actually my point. And before I start, I said the MC indicating multidisciplinary Congress. I think based on my 30 years academic world, teach me say multidisciplinary approach. I mean, we have to think about the other way around. How about unidiscipline? So one single discipline you are specializing in or what you're digging on, and then gradually move on to say another, and then we call this a multidiscipline. And if you are educator, especially the higher education side, I mean university level, say unless you are very much confidently specialized in one specific discipline, easily move on to another discipline, make yourself is very shallow. I mean your impact is very, very few, low. Therefore, before you, I think multidiscipline is beautiful wording, but youngsters is very say, especially for youngsters, say before you move on to another topic, another area or domain, think about, am I confident about one specific domain I'm digging on? Stay there until we move on to another. Otherwise, so economists say, I'm the economist by training, say economy of scale and economy of scope, you all know that. But economy of scale, creating some cost minimization through the scale in depths. Then gradually, second categories move on to economy of scope. Boundary is expanded. So to me, it's multidiscipline mean economy of scope. Boundary expanded it. Therefore, our thought will be expanded. Horizon is expanded. But before then, prerequisite for moving on to that boundary is you have to be depth. This is uni and multi. This is actually my point. Like a teacher, isn't it? So, title is here, is MET educator as a researcher. So this is luckily I have plenty of time, so therefore I can slow down to wherever I have to have some question, you can hands up. I will cover 3 main points. So I'm providing basic concept definition of the function of the educator or teachers or lecturers in broad sense. And move on to the what is the issue, say about maritime transportation setting at this moment. And finally providing my personal suggestions to you for think about it. And carry on Q&A. So before I start, I coming on to last week, say I checked your website, see what is the keyword of this Congress. So I noticed that broadly, say all this component, this seem to be main component, and environment component, communication component, social and labor, safety, and then law and policy and governance issue, and commercial component, and technology innovation and the energy component. Broadly, embracing the topic of the first WMETMC conference. So this implied that education is to be all about the human being. So your rector, CMU rector mentioned about, say, human factor is all about. So me as a normal economist, we say human being means we have the two different type of capital. Capital means monetary component. Another one is a human component we call human capital. So human capital component is all the time we consider as an input for production. So we as educator consider you and me as one of the key input rather than output. So we as input, how we can say optimizingly educating or utilizing our resources for creating best output. This is a mentality me as an educator, economist having. So based on that one, say move on. Starting point. I'm using all the time, this is my first class. So raising the issue to the student. What does it mean data? What does it mean information? We all the time say, oh, plenty of the data and plenty of information is available. How different are they? The keyword is data is very much spread all over the world. In other words, it's not yet constructed, not yet organized. But one way up, as indicating context. So spreading unorganized, unconnected data set must be transformed into the form of the information. That information must be in contextualized text. So context means case by case. Therefore, keyword is categorized or structurized or organized within your own context. So my context may be in WMU, your context in Constanța may be different, although we're talking about the same thing. But therefore, the same component remain unchanged, but context-wise is different. Therefore, information, although we're using exactly same data set, but why shipping company, A shipping company moving A strategic approach, when the other B shipping company moving the other way around? Because their context is different, although we are dealing exactly same data set. So this is, I think, one scale up. Then, one further up, we all educator is working for this keyword is meaning. What is the meaning? What is the value to the society? So how we can do that? Conceptualizing it, syntaxizing it. Keyword is through discussion. So this is a way eventually say move on to further up and wisdom. So people like Captain John and me and then some other people is a gray area. Normally we're supposed to be slightly wiser than the previous generation, isn't it? So is it really the case? I don't know. But keyword is in wisdom is accumulation. Through this sort of the exercise, you're becoming more and more accumulated, eventually becoming wiser. Another definition of education. So they, according to Cambridge Dictionary, as I checked it, say educator mean we all know that, isn't it? Or some other thing is somebody who is authority on the method and theory of teaching also we call educator. One scaling up, say we have a similar wording is that what is a lecturer or what is a teacher? Teacher are simply say very much general term to combining all. Teachers are educator working within academic setting, a lecturer giving lecture at university and college level, according to Cambridge Dictionary, at higher education. Therefore, lecturers are expert in specific subject matter, unidiscipline. Before we move on to the multidiscipline. Therefore, educator in general must be as a researcher. So using again same hierarchy. So as I mentioned, very much say on organized thought, slightly structuralizing it and creating some meaning. Then we as a researcher is a knowledge creator using given data and information within your context, your own meaningful way of doing it. This is our knowledge work according to my own definition. Maybe it's subject to further discussion. Then move on to what is a research then? I think some of you, I think September last year in Istanbul, the IMNA conference, I'm using exactly the same metaphor using this day. You might be familiar with this one. To say, not my definition, according to this definition, say research is defined creating, we all know that, new knowledge and using existing knowledge in a new way or creative way, eventually generating new concepts, new methodologies, and new understandings. Keyword is, you and I as a knowledge worker must be say creating whatever we're doing it, we have to be, am I doing to innovate to creating new concept? Am I applying to new methodology? Am I contribute to the society by making the better new understanding? Otherwise, you cannot call yourself as a researcher or educator. Therefore, in two components, say research combining, say what has been done before, and then what you like to do. So linking up past and then future. As a journal editor, I very occasionally nowadays, young researchers submitting paper using, say, bibliometric or systematic literature review on a topic. Nowadays, my generation is they're doing that kind of literature review is very challenging. But nowadays, using a few keywords in computer world, they can easily generating $100,000 million, not dollar, word count related to research, eventually creating some simple chart. More I'm exposing to that kind of research, I'm all the time say, so what? What context you like to me? Say, why you are doing it, understandable. How you do, understandable. The keyword is, so what? That component is not contained in that paper. I'm normally paper rejected immediately. Second part is whatever you do as a human being, is unlike a politician, unlike professionals, we as academic, say one side, we have to be engaging with them. So we have to know about what's going on in industry. So you have to be inviting with the Captain John Noyes, we need it. So we have to listen to the industry people's voice as well. At the same time, more importantly, same person, the other side of our life is we have to be purposely detached from them. Otherwise, we cannot make our approach is objectifying it. So science means objective, objective means scientific. So these two components must be hanging balancing here and there. Another digging on. Oh, I can see your eyes is very engaging. Is it interesting? Am I entertaining you intellectually interesting? Anything that you just confused, you can hands up and stop me, please. 30 years academic. All the time I'm used to working in engineering school, because my profession is economics training, but topic is logistics. The logistics is a two different multidiscipline, engineering perspective and then business perspective. So half of my academic career working at Faculty of Engineering. The other half of my academic life is working at business school. So I know the business school mentality and engineering school mentality. They all say, we, logistic people, shipping and port, we are applied science. Therefore, simply whatever industry needed, we can do it. But if you look at very carefully on the very fundamental issue, definition-wise, we call pure theory or research is addressing conceptual problem. Starting point is conceptual problem, but that result does not happen to be directly related to practicality. This is what we call pure science, basic science. But applied science, we start exactly same conceptual issue, but that conceptual issue have practical consequence. Therefore, this implies that, say, is it practical problem-driven approach or concept-generated approach? Still, again, debatable. Therefore, what we think is about conceptual matter. What we do is about practical matter. One further up, I'm all the time quoting this first gentleman's, say, George Porter's Nobel laureate in chemistry in 1967, say, there is only two types of the research, applied, not yet applied. Yeah. So, based on that one, say, summarizing this discussion so far, so say one side, we have to deal with the concept theory, the other part is a practice. We as a inevitably applied scientist. So say, this seems to be too much engaging with the practice. I mean, like you working for a company or a client, or maybe business consultant. In that case, this is something business consultant or company report, in-house research team carry on. This seems to be too much, what you call blue sky research, rocket scientist type of thing. We inevitably, we cannot do that. Therefore, either type 2 or type 3, these two types of the research, we as an applied scientists normally do that. I personally prefer this one, but still this is acceptable. But it's your choice. But if you're digging too much on this one, then you can say you have to think about your career rather than remain in the academic world. You better go to the business consulting company, according to this categorization. Another one, and say today, Captain Jones mentioned about the IMO type of issue. So stakeholders, international organizations, obviously, local level, regional level, or international level. Government, again, local level, I mean regional level, even European level, your case. Industry professional, now is NIs here. And even sometimes student, and even general public. So we have to deal with, say, all these four different, say, stakeholders. But my personal wish is this. Hopefully, knowledge generator and also knowledge disseminator within the field of the maritime affairs. This is my, all my PhD students, all my PhD, the postdoc researchers, they know my mentality. This is my role model. He's a German origin American sociologist, say Kurt Levin, said there is nothing so practical as good theory. This is initially say, oh, we only apply the sciences, therefore we have to be more practically geared. Okay, good enough. But you as a researcher, think about it, say, there is no so practical as a good theory. Therefore, he all the time said that theory must be combined to function. So what is known? Past. What is heading to? Future, now and future. Linking together. Therefore, simply say fact, data classified statistically or some other way of the round is, according to him, this is not research. So we have to go one step further. So say, remember data, information, knowledge, there's that hierarchical approach is there, contextually, meaningfully, and that is creating it. Everybody say this is a cartoon. Everybody say, or how many you producing it. But in fact, this is more valuable, isn't it? So I'm currently editor-in-chief of this John Williams Journal, and at the same time also the editor of our book series. So Karma mentioned about to say you wish to get your conference paper, Congress paper today, present it tomorrow again, will be part of the publication. So hopefully, say think about this mentality I just mentioned to you, and then embracing into your publication, then eventually making more meaningful dissemination to the world. Thank you. And wow, still time. Is there any question? Then I'm willing to take. I think one last, while I listened to your lecturer's point, to say, mention about AI. So is it combining with my topic today is a machine versus a human being. So we all know that nowadays, even copy and paste type of the education is no longer effective in classroom setting. Student is more clever than us using AI and machine. Therefore, you as a human being educator, how we can do? You have to be researcher in one specific expert, then gradually move on to the other multidiscipline. Otherwise, the value of the you as an educator will be diminished immediately. Therefore, we have to be more creative, we have to be more innovative intellectually, and therefore, we have to fight against machine. Although we have to work with them. Thank you.